Welcome to Junior Sports Marketing, where we talk with the brands, athletes, and innovators pioneering youth sports. It's a $50 billion ecosystem, and it keeps growing. With nearly 50 million parents making up the world's most passionate fan base, this is the new frontier of sports marketing. Hey everyone, welcome back in. Today I'm sitting down with Jake Rosen, who is the Senior Brand Manager of North American Team Sports at Oakley. My man, Jake, welcome in.
Thanks, Cam. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, excited for this. I know we have a little history. Shout out the guys at Slam. I think that's where we first met. Really excited for this. This is a brand that's so synonymous with sports and youth sports. But first, let's get to know Jake. Jake, who are you? What's your background? How did you get into sports marketing and now Oakley?
Yeah, thanks, Cam. I think for me, it always goes back to the very start, right? So for me, I grew up big New Jersey guy. That's something that's very near and dear to my heart. I'm from northern New Jersey, small town called Norwood, in Bergen County. And for those who don't know, when you look at the state map of New Jersey, there's 21 counties. And if you ever look at like the kind of visual map, there's always kind of like, oh, this one has apples, this one has oranges, this one has things. Bergen County is the sports county.
Love
So
that.
there was always a basketball, soccer ball, and a football. It's the same place where Bergen Catholic, Don Bosco Prep, a lot of these kind of national sport programs in the North Jersey area are actually from. So I grew up with a huge love of sports. And for me, that kind of brought me to, finding a passion for actually playing sports, but then also turning into a passion to get into the business of sport. And started out wanting to be a coach, ended up moving more into the marketing space. A big testament comes from during my time at Syracuse, I took a class called Managing the Sport Organization. I had initially wanted to be a coach, and after reading the book Swoosh, the unauthorized biography of Nike and the men who played there by JB Strasser, she wrote this incredible kind of tell-all about the history of Nike and everything that went into the highs and the lows of getting to where they wanted to be, and kind of just made me fall in love with marketing and Nike as a brand. And that kind of just made me fall in love with, okay, I'm going to go the other direction. I'm going to go into marketing. And that was really like a important kind of moment for me to kind of say, okay, I want to pursue marketing. Ended up getting an internship at Nike the next summer. Was super fortunate. That came through some great relationships and a lot of hard work. I also completely forgot to mention that I was a manager for 4 years at Syracuse basketball, which also built a lot of great connections, built a lot of great industry relationships in the sports space. And then that got me into my career, where I started Game 7 marketing, spent 4 years there as a coordinator, then manager, working on Nike basketball, Foot Locker, LL Cool J Inc., running LL Cool J's basketball camps out in Queens, which was amazing, doing the amazing work he does for the community. But got to work on a lot of really, really cool stuff during my time there, specifically like New York versus New York, building that platform from day one, from the event side, and then moving into some awesome other work, just like doing NBA All-Star weekends, Foot Locker major store openings, refurbing House of Hoops, things like that really kind of brought me very close to like kind of grassroots and youth sports.
Yep.
And a lot of that ended up leading to doing some other stuff, doing some consulting and work with Made Hoops and Slam Magazine, as we both know, working with Malka Media, which gave me a little bit of a corporate enterprise experience with managing their Amazon account, and then moving back into sports with Oakley. Got hired as their first team sports brand manager, coming off of the signing of their NFL partnership back in 2019. And that was a really important moment for the brand, and they knew team sports was a big priority. So they ended up bringing me in, and I'm super fortunate to have spent, 4.5 years at the brand helping to shape what we do in team sports.
Yeah, it's incredible. We're trying to talk sports. We're excited to talk youth sports. But to Jake, why is youth sports so important?
So for me, I think youth sports is so important just in general because that's where we learn a lot of our skills, right? You think about leadership skills, how to work as a team, how to be a good person.
Yeah,
Sport shapes us as
right.
people, and that's you see the stat. Often, my wife works for the Women's Sports Foundation, so she's in the women's sports side. She cites a stat of 92% of executives, of female executives for Fortune 500 companies, played a sport at some point in
Yep.
their career, in their life. And when you think about that, sport is the building block for us to really become people and great leaders and just in general everything. And for me, I think youth sports is something that's super important because it's an important gateway for us to be able to actually engage with kids, especially for Oakley from a product perspective. We're all about creating incredible products that keep you safer, allow you to see better,
Yep.
and then it just actually fit you. And that's something that you don't see from some other brands. Like it's hard to nail all three.
Right.
And I think in youth sports, it's super important to be able to provide something that actually helps you perform versus just selling you a product just for the sake of selling you a product.
Yeah, it's the authentic nature of yourself and the brand that kind of drives it. So, in that vein, Oakley and sports are obviously so synonymous with each other. How did that come to be? And in your own words, what is Oakley's role in sports and maybe even deeper youth sports?
Yeah, so when it comes to Oakley, we actually started out as a motorcycle brand, which is actually really interesting.
That is
Uh,
interesting.
our founder Jim Gennard in 1975, he was actually a sales rep for a motorcycle. Basically, it was like a motorcycle equipment distributor, and he was kind of
Interesting.
really into motocross. And he ended up coming up with he was selling like a guidebook that was like this big. It was enormous, and he was like, "Hey, like, I actually want to develop a motorcycle grip that I think could be better." And he actually went on created this motorcycle grip. So our first product wasn't actually even like a sunglass, but then
Interesting.
a few years later, we actually came out with our first sunglass. It actually used a wire frame, so he actually curved a wire hanger to actually create the first like kind of frames, and then sorry, I'm trying to remember I'm blanking on the word, the arms of the
Yeah, yeah.
glasses, and it's an insane thing. You should actually look up the pictures.
I
It's
got
so
to look that
wild.
up.
And then he ended up creating like this whole category of sport performance optics. There was no such
Yeah.
thing as sport performance sunglasses back then. And for us, that became kind of just an entire journey in the sports space, right? We were the first ones into it from a sport performance optics standpoint, and we continue to be innovators in it today. And when you think about Oakley as a brand, it really is somebody we're a brand who really believes in this kind of creed of everything can and will become better. It's just a matter of when and by whom. Um, and when you think about that, it really puts you in a space where you're always innovating. You're always
Yep.
thinking about how can you improve. And for us in sports, sport is the base of the brand. Like that's where we are a performance brand in so many ways. We also have a lifestyle. We are also a huge lifestyle brand. Like you see Oakley t-shirts out on the streets left and right.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm super proud because I get to work a lot on the performance side and I'm super passionate about how we're enabling athletes to always be the best they can be and really be able to improve their game each and every day. And it's an amazing thing to be able to say you work at a brand like Oakley.
Yeah, and what we're here to do on this show and this pod is speak to pioneers in the space, right? So you've hit on not only yourself but the brand. So it's a perfect marriage. One more here. Why are we seeing such a push into youth sports from a sports marketing world?
just from a sports marketing world in general, I think youth sports, like we've seen youth sports as a business, right? Like there's an opportunity to be able to do some incredible things, like in terms of the amount of costs on equipment, the fees from a hospitality standpoint. When you look at an AAU tournament going to Cincinnati, Ohio, you're going to see a huge influx of families from all around the country to come into Cincinnati. There's an opportunity for companies to be able to make money and be able to provide,
Yep.
and be able to help grow. And I think for me, I see there's a ton of opportunity in the sports space.
Yep.
It all comes down for me. It comes back to this idea of how do you actually, enable these athletes to be able to perform better, be safer. Like safety is so paramount in youth sports.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that we are constantly thinking about for Oakley is like when you're 8 or 10 years old, your eyes aren't fully developed.
Right.
That's why it's so important to have eye protection and sunglasses, because first off, you don't want to get hit in the face with a ball. If you take a ripper to the face when you're in the hot corner, you could lose an eye. Like you could end up not being able to protect your face. So these are like the things that I'm constantly thinking about from Oakley when we get into youth sports and we start trying to tell stories, because there's a huge market, but there's also a market of people who need to be supported and educated on the importance of it.
The education piece, protection, safety, all that good stuff, right, it is so paramount. But at the end of the day, you're marketing, you want to look good, feel good. And I think you guys are probably the gold standard when it comes to that. With that being said, I'll switch gears here and pull out my first prop for the show as we jump into the Oakley focus questions here. So unlike a lot of brands that build one umbrella platform of their community work in sport, Oakley has gone sport by sport with distinct properties in flag, baseball, skiing. So as we think about behind that approach, right, how do all those sports connect internally? And then what is the message, obviously, holistically coming from Oakley?
Yeah, I think for us, when we think about the work that Oakley's been doing in the team sports space, flag football has been paramount, right, in everything that we do. For us, football is a huge priority for the brand, given our NFL partnership, and that has kind of branched for us into the team sports space to really focus on, okay, how are you growing the pie of being able to actually speak to sport performance in the football space beyond just tackle, right? And flag football has been like a big thing that we've seen as an opportunity for us in youth sports, because there isn't a pro league, there hasn't been college. It's been a sport that's been played at all levels for a very, very long time. And for us, we were really focused on, okay, how are we actually speaking to girls?
Yeah.
How do you speak to young women? And for us, when it comes to community work, I think that, as I said, I'm super passionate about how are we giving back, how are we finding ways to actually be able to create opportunities for athletes to be safer, perform better. Yeah. And when we think about the work that we've done in flag football, like that is the basis of it. It's about, our entire motto was move the game forward. It's about how do you actually create something how does the brand actually support athletes bettering themselves? How does the brand actually help create a journey for people to actually be able to make the sport of football better? And that's kind of where we were going with flag football.
Yeah, flag football is just continues to be, a rocket ship. And by the way, maybe these are some of the inspiration. I get compliments on these all the time for the little paper clip, but maybe that was the inspiration behind the first model.
There is a little bit of that with the wireframe hanger. Yeah,
you'd be surprised. I get stopped all the time about those. But back to girls and flag football, it's having just a absolute moment. I don't think it's going anywhere. I'm so excited for my nieces to tap into it when they become of age. But 2028 LA Olympics is coming up, right? It's going to be a massive moment for all sport, but specifically for flag football. Oakley is in a unique position because LA is your guys' backyard in HQ. So how do you guys think about using that cultural peak to build something really special, not only for the brand, but maybe flag football as well?
Yeah, I think LA 28 is obviously a huge moment in the sports industry in general. And I think for me, when I think about LA 28 and the fact that flag football is going to be making its debut in the Olympics, it's a
Yeah.
huge moment for the sport of football, right? Like we think about football has always been called an American sport, it's not something that plays internationally well. There's a reason why flag football is being given its platform. It's because it is accessible, it's a sport that like both genders can play, men and
Yep.
women. Not to say women can't play tackle because there are incredible women who play tackle, but at the end of the day, from an accessibility standpoint, you're seeing a much larger contingent of girls and women who are playing flag.
Yeah.
And for us, when we look at when I personally look at LA 28, I think it's a huge opportunity for us. You know, for our headquarters to be in the backyard in that backyard, we're working on. We want to be the brand in flag football. Like that's something that we've said outwardly with the work that we're doing with Oakley Icon Alliance,
Yes.
and I think that's really a lot of the building blocks for us to really be able to make our statement when we talk about LA 28 through some of the partnerships that we've landed and continue to have heading into that timing. And in general, given that it's Oakley's backyard, it's something that we have to do well.
Yeah, we're excited to see what you're cooking up there. The partnerships, you guys are locked in with orgs like RCX Sports, NFL Flag, USA Football, and your own foundation. So pretty cleanly here, what does Oakley look for in a partner that they're going to give either money, product, resources to, not only in flag football, but just in sport in general?
I think authenticity in the space, right? Like that's always a big part of everything that we do. When we think about being truly authentic, how do you actually connect to the audiences that we're actually interested in? So when you look at NFL Flag, for example, NFL Flag has a very strong tapped in audience of over 800,000
Yeah,
young
it's crazy.
athletes all across the world who love playing the sport of football. And for
Yep.
us, we want to be a performance brand in the sport of football. Where else can you go to be able to, tap into that audience? We have our NFL partnership. The NFL is the pinnacle of sport performance when you think about at the tackle level and just within all the major leagues, right? And there's a reason NFL is so much higher watch ratings and things like that versus every other league. We as a country love football,
We sure
and
do.
for NFL Flag, having the authenticity of the NFL's name on it also
Yeah.
really lends a great thing. So for us, when we're looking for a partner, we're really looking for people who actually can help bring the audience that we want to really connect with,
Yeah.
as well as we know we have to find good partners, right? Partners who want to invest in our brand, who actually want us. We're not looking to just logo slap. Like that's
Yeah.
something that is very big with Oakley. Like we are not just slap a logo on something and say, "Hey, cool!" Like that's Oakley. We're here. No, it's always about finding the right partners who are going to endemically get the product in motion in the conversation, and look at us for what we can bring versus it's not always about the money. It's not always about the deliverables. It's about how do you truly authentically integrate yourselves into that
Yeah.
other partner.
Yeah, and let's give you guys some credit too. You guys raised the bar for those partners as well. A brand as high level as Oakley coming into any of these operators organizations, you guys are elevating them as well. And when I sat on the other side, on the operator side, man, it just the recognition to being partnered with someone like that, it goes beyond just the monetary or product value. So, you know, as we look to our next product here that I'm going to model on for everyone, I'm going to dig in and man, these are my running. I am out with the jogging stroller with my little guy. I turned some heads in these. I'm not gonna lie. So
You look
and
great.
hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
Crush it
And
with the ruby lenses.
heck yeah, I can't ask for a better audience. But let's talk Oakley Icon Alliance, right? this is something that is passionate for me because it's your guys' own IP, right? I'm going to read off a couple stats here. Started with 8-team tournament in 2025, grew to 16 across East and West regionals, and now is expanding to over 70 teams across the US, Canada, Mexico, and Panama. That is incredible, right? The international, starting with a national, now going international. Not a lot of people can do that, let alone a brand, right? So I guess walk us through that. What surprised you most about these first 2 years? What did that teach you going into global expansion? And at the end of the day, what can other brands learn from something like this in creating their own IP?
Yeah, I think that for us, when we look at what was so amazing about these first 2 years, is just the energy around flag football.
Yeah.
It is a sport that people love to compete in. And for us, when we set out to do this, we knew that there was a hunger, right? From an elite flag football opportunity, especially on the girls' side, there's not been the space for these girls to be able to compete. That was one of the things that we learned early on. And I'll give a lot of credit to our sports marketing team and the leadership on that side. They really talk to a lot of these organizers and like the club teams. And the thing that they were hearing is, hey, I'm going to NFL flag championships in Canton or Florida or Vegas. And we're not getting a lot of high level competition in the run up to those things. So then we end up getting into the actual flag championships and we're cold. We only get two good games. We make it to the semifinals, and then our girls haven't gotten the chance to compete against a real high level team.
Right.
And when you get to that point, you need to really keep those reps going. You need to really be able to compete against the highest level. And that's what OIA really started to become. So it's really become a space for these teams to be able to match up and create something that's not just a one-off, a few teams show up to a field.
Right.
We organize some amateur games, once every couple months where a team comes from Arizona, a team comes from California, a team comes from Nevada to compete and, get those reps in. We've created an actual platform for these girls to be able to compete, for them to be seen, for them to be recruited, for them to actually, be able to build up their status in the space. When we talk about flag football, for a brand like Oakley to get behind things, it's really important. I had some great opportunities to do some of this stuff with Nike, right? Before I came to Oakley, I got to work on New York versus New York, and that was, I think, a really eye-opening one for me when you look at the platform of what they've continued to be able to grow with New York versus New York, becoming a national category that actually is able to sell apparel, sell shoes, things like that. You see the importance of IP, right? And for us with OIA, it gives us that same opportunity to be able to do something, have something that's ownable internally and externally, something that we can put our name on. I truly think like Nike's done it really, really well, with everything that they were able to do with EYBL.
Yeah.
And I think these are some of the things that we've looked to in some ways, but also evolved on.
Sure. Yeah, and not to mention the content that comes out of the Icon series, the Oakley meta, behind the scenes, in game, really incredible. If you haven't checked it out, please go check it out, because just scrolling through that and all the highlights that's a whole nother beast, right? Of owning your IP. You got to take care of your content, right, internally, and you guys have done it, in first class manner. So shout out to the team there. You guys are showing up across all phases of sport, right? At the governing body, at the tournament level, all the way down to the club level. We talked offline a little bit. You guys have NFL partnerships with players. How do you keep those experiences consistent at scale without maybe trying it feeling too cookie cutter and you're just, like we said, logo slapping?
Yeah, I think that for us, like we're really lucky that we have these amazing creeds and kind of the mission statements that Oakley has. Everything kind of will become better, reimagine everything, and these kind of give us an opportunity to have everything under one umbrella of like a brand thought process. And when we think about all those different levels and all the different places we show up at sport, there's just a way of like being very Oakley about it.
Yes.
And for us, it's about being authentic, being endemic, knowing our audiences, knowing the people who are actually studying and going after these different organizations.
Yeah.
And for me, it always comes back to if it's Justin Jefferson from an athlete level, or it's Conquer SoCal from a youth flag football team level, NFL flag championships, or then even USA football as a governing body, right? You're hitting on different consumer bases, and we need to think through what is our mission with each
Yeah.
of these different things. So the approach will constantly change. And I think that's part of the beauty of it because everybody is a little bit different. Everybody has their own approach to things. Justin Jefferson has his signature series sunglass.
Yeah.
When we're working with Justin Jefferson, often we're trying to push that signature series, or we're thinking about how are we using him to debut a new product or show something off that's different. And you have to really think through it. It can't just be, okay, throw a pair of sunglasses on him. No, it has to be the right product, the right moment with the right athlete.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you can just say, okay, week one, we're just throwing this on him. No, we have to really think through what are the levers we're pulling. PR, paid media, partnership, different other sports marketing organizations that we work with, all the way down to the commercial side, retail,
Yeah.
e-com, wholesale, the electronic emails that you're getting, in your inbox to purchase that eyewear. That's a lot of the time we're thinking about all of these different things. And when you have to think about all those different things, nothing can ever be the same. It can't
Right.
just be the same cookie cutter approach.
Yeah, there's levels to this in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
So one thing, this what I hope that the audience gets out of this, right, is when we're talking to brands, when brands are in this space, it's very important for them to know that this is an investment into youth sports. It's different from pro, it's different from college. So when the goal is that long-term participation growth, brand affinity, we're working with younger audiences, in your case, a lot of female audiences. How do you measure success internally? And then what does a great year look like on a scorecard for you?
Yeah, I think when measuring success internally it's complicated, right? Like you think about KPIs and what you're actually able to measure, like some things. And after the first Oakley Icon Alliance, obviously we got some great views. We
Yeah.
had, we saw a lot of great engagement on social media, which was really helpful because you could see there's an appetite for this stuff.
Yep.
And especially for girls in sport and for the work that we've been doing there, there's clearly an appetite. One of the big things was we had an athlete who she plays for the USA football national team. Her and her dad, after the first OIA, came up to me and they said, "Thank you so much. We've been doing this for, 16 years. She's been going to tournaments. I think she was probably 19 at the time. She'd probably been going to tournaments for the last, 13 years since she was probably 6 or 5 years old." And they were like, "We've never been to a better run tournament. We've never been to something that has made me feel so special and so high level." And for me, that is a big part of my KPIs, right? Knowing that we made a difference, knowing that we made something that is going to stick with this girl for the rest of her life. And that's something that I'm constantly thinking about. But when we think about measuring internally, I think sales is obviously a big part of it, right? Like when we're investing in new audiences, you're trying to find opportunities to be able to grow the brand and grow opportunities. So there's a level of that. I think that, impression, like with the age of social media and building awareness, like engagement with content, that is also
huge.
something that we can look at and say, as well as just in general, hearing from the different audiences and the different communities that we're going into, hearing strong endemic feedback that says, hey, this is what we need. Like, we know the right people because we do a lot of the work. And again, not only myself, but the rest of the Oakley team does a really, really great job of being super tapped in endemically. So from a sports standpoint, we're always trying to be, again, our most authentic selves. And I think we do a really good job of being able to help shape that narrative internally and externally to be able to say, when we're doing amazing work in the flag football space, it's just so clear. It's clear as day that there's an opportunity.
To wrap it up here, looking at the next few years, where do you see the biggest white space for brands investing in youth sports like we talked about? And then obviously brands are always trying to learn. You're always trying to learn. What's Oakley still trying to figure out?
Yeah, I think for Oakley, there is for us, we're still trying to figure out, how to kind of bring all the pieces together. For some of the things that we talked about in terms of the measuring success, like there's still an opportunity to try to figure out. Not everything is a commercial opportunity.
Yep.
How do you kind of find that mix of what's the brand building opportunities versus the commercial opportunities, and you don't want to lose sight of one or the other because both are important to the company because that's where we work.
See this,
And I think in the next few years, the biggest white space for brands that are investing in sports is I think it's kind of that same thing, right? There's a lot of brands that are getting into youth sports, but there's also a lot of brands that are or people who are getting into youth sports as an opportunity just to make money.
Yeah.
And I think the next few years is where we're going to start seeing, okay, who's in it for the love of the game and who's in it to actually make a difference, make an impact, and be able to, I'll use our tagline, move the game forward, right? Who's going to be in there to actually make a difference and help drive the sport forward versus just try to make a quick buck and get out.
Yeah, love it. Well, Jake, we appreciate you coming on, spitting some knowledge on this Friday. Where can we look to find more from you, from the brand? What should we be following? What should we be looking out for in these next couple months?
Well, definitely follow @Oakley and @Oakley_US on Instagram. You can find us on TikTok at @Oakley. You can find me on Instagram at Jake Rosen 23.
Let's go.
I think for us, you can continue to find the brand in so many other places, whether it's through everything that we've done with Oakley Meta, our different stores, but definitely check out Oakley Icon Alliance. I think that's a really amazing platform that we've been building, and there's so much more still to come.
Appreciate it, Jake, as always. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk offline here soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Cam. Appreciate having me.
All right. Appreciate it, brother.